Who knew that just breathing could change your life? Well, hopefully you've listened to the episode with Steven Stott with a company called Embrace the Darkness, an episode I did a few months ago. And I have been working with Steven for a few months now, actually doing a monthly breathwork session with him. And I just came out of the most powerful session I've had with him to date, to the point that I was crying. And I knew that based on the impact and power that this particular session had, this was the time for me to come tell you about it. And if you're hearing this, it's because you were meant to. If you've been thinking about checking out breathwork, especially checking out breathwork with Steven, I highly recommend it. Working with him has lowered my stress levels, increased my confidence, and now I know it's in the process of growing my business. So if breathwork is something that seemed a little weird or woo-woo or whatever it may be, and you want to give it a shot and see what working with him might be, I've gotten him to gift you a little mini session. All you have to do is go to badassdirectsalesmastery.com/breathwork 101, and it'll take you directly to where you can access a little sample of what it's like to work with Steven Stott with Embrace the Darkness and have your own personal experience is really the best word I can find right now. Have your own experience with Steven to see if you would like to take that just a little bit further with him. Anyway, Badass Crew, I really hope you'll take me up on it, because if it's working for me, I'm telling you, it's life-changing. All from just having an intuitive guide take you through the process. Go check it out. badassdirectsalesmastery.com/breathwork 101. And of course, as you know, that link is in the notes.
Welcome to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger. Badass Direct Sales Mastery is a podcast for rock star direct sales moms who are determined to make their business kick ass. Jennie will share her knowledge of effective sales and recruiting techniques, tips to get what you want from your business, and will interview direct sales professionals and leaders from various companies. The interviews will give insight to how these rock stars got to where they are and where they plan to grow in the future. And now, the direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger.
Welcome back to another episode of Badass Direct Sales Mastery. I'm your host, your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger, helping you whip your business into shape. And I am so freaking excited to have our guest on today. For those of you who don't know Alexei Musienko, get ready. You are going to absolutely love today's episode. Now, I met Alexei Musienko on my very first marketer's cruise in January of 2023, and we met completely accidentally on purpose because we were both on the marketer's cruise. But he just happened to choose to sit down next to me one night at Pizza and Profits. And from that conversation we struck up a friendship that has continued now for over 2 years. And we have begun to collaborate together recently from this. So Alexei Musienko has built plenty of businesses in the 6 and 7 figure range. He has spent time in network marketing and direct sales as well. So he has experience there. And he is also now the host of the One Relationship Away podcast. And we literally just got done recording him interviewing me for that show. So I know you guys love great podcasts. You're going to want to listen to One Relationship Away. Alexei, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jennie. It's such a pleasure and honor. We've been talking about this for years, literally now.
Yeah.
And I'm excited that we're actually getting to step into our intention and follow it by action. I gotta say that I've done a number of episodes with some amazing individuals for One Relationship Way that people get to literally be the fly on the wall with some of the greatest relationships that changed the trajectory and still changing the trajectory of my life so that they can be one relationship away from the life of their dreams or the impact that they can create in the world. But what I have to tell your audience is that none of those interviews almost had me in tears, where I'm like, okay, don't cry, don't cry. I may need a tissue. So just to give you the props where the props are due, it was a real pleasure to have you on the show. And I'm so excited being yours and getting to be of true service to your amazing community and audience.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. No, I love your episode because you asked me questions that no other podcaster has ever asked me before. And I have easily been on over 150 other shows since 2017. And yeah, there were some good questions there. And so anybody who thinks they've heard everything about Jennie, yeah, you think. Go listen to my episode with Alexei and you'll learn something new about Jennie. I guarantee it, because there are some things I've never talked about on anybody else's show ever on Alexei's show. So I'm very excited to be able to share and hope that people have a takeaway that impacts them from there. So, but enough about me, because this show is not about me. It's about you, Alexei. So as I mentioned in your introduction, you have built multiple businesses that have led into the multi 6-figure and 7-figure range for you. How did you, where did you start in the world and how did you end up where you are now, in a nutshell?
Okay, I'll do my best to be short and concise because this conversation is truly not about me, but really bring amazing value to your audience. So my 60-second story is that I was originally born in USSR, which is now considered as Ukraine. I lived in Moscow, went to school in South Africa, and then finished my education in United States. So that's how I ended up into adulthood. And as I was going on that journey, the truth is that I had an amazing mother who was a very high-level professional in the corporate world first, and then she chose to go into business. And the funny thing is, right, that it's amazing how sometimes as children we have certain intuitive elements. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why or how, but one of the memories that's stuck in my mind is that when I was about 8 or 9 years old, when you ask kids, what do they want to be like when they grow up? And some kids will say fireman, a spaceman, a policeman, right? I mean, you fill in the blank, right?
Right.
For whatever reason, I keep remembering that for me, that story was I wanted to be a business owner. I don't think I even knew what that actually meant at that time.
Yeah.
But that's really kind of something that was always in my heart. And getting to watch my mom, build a business and then having the honor of getting to build a secondary business with her as a side hustle, which honestly, the way the conversation started, she said, listen, at the time, just to be, clear, my mom owned over 10 pharmacies, right? She had a network of pharmacies. And she said, listen, I know you like computers. And I know I don't have enough time for this project, but maybe you might be interested in doing this software that we could potentially use for our pharmacies. And I know it's probably not going to make a lot of money, but at least will give you some, coffee or fun money while you're going through school, right? And this would be another project we can do together. Well, a lot of elements of business and networking and really being able to lead people I learned from my mom. Because I've always admired the idea or the quality of hers where she would walk into a room of strangers and literally leave it with nobody being a stranger anymore. They were all friends of hers. And for years when I was in high school and even some years in college, I was like, I always dream about I wish I could have that, right? And it's kind of funny, before I knew it, I turned around and I was the one that people ask, how do I have the relationships that I have in my life? Whether it's, Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is the funny fact. That was the book that literally changed the trajectory of my life. It wasn't the information that was pivotal for me when his book. It was the confirmation that a man was very successful, that I held in high regard, He was speaking about ideas that I already had in my mind since I was a child.
Mm-hmm.
So it gave me almost the validation to understand I can trust my own mind and my own intuition and move forward into, long story short, growing that small side hustle first into a 6-figure business, then a 7-figure business. As I got that business on the road to systemization and being quite profitable, I got bored. And so I started helping other people, or the truth is I started helping my friends try to figure out their businesses, because honestly, for me, it was fun. Because to me, business is like a big puzzle, and I just love solving puzzles. So going back to your original question, I've been known as an individual that has started 5, 6, and 7-figure companies, but not only start them, I knew how to scale them. And most important, I knew how to sustain them. Because these days, right, everybody takes a weekend course on business and now they're a business coach, right? Many people can show you how to start a business. There's a few of them that can actually genuinely show you how to grow a business.
Right.
In my experience, there's very select few that can show you how do you sustain a business over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
For me, my core business right now has been over 20 years. It's funny because I get to hire kids that are younger than the business itself.
Oh my God. That's crazy. But that's so good though, because, you have this opportunity through hiring to give back, right? Like hiring, like growing a team. Okay. Because this is a direct sales podcast, right? Hiring a team or growing a team is a gift that you give to other people. Because, right? I mean, look at becoming the person who can be in that role, whether you are hired or whether you start your own direct sales or network marketing business. There's a person you get to become in order to be successful in that. And that's a gift. So that's amazing. Oh my God. Okay. So many good things that came out of your, in a nutshell, story there. So you already addressed one thing, which is the book, right? Because you had asked me about my favorite book the life-changing book for me, and you've already addressed yours. How have you continued to, because you said, Rich Dad, Poor Dad was validation. How have you continued to implement and use the things that are in that? Do you go back to that book from time to time? Or is it one that you were like, oh yeah, that was great, and then you haven't gone back? Like, how do you do that? And do you still utilize those concepts?
That's actually a great question that I've never been asked before. So I still believe in the principles of the book. A lot of the times how I use the book, I'll actually recommend it to clients before we even get a chance to get together, right? Because one of the things that I took away from the book that I still use on a daily basis, right? I believe in the concept, don't climb the ladder, build a ladder. Right? And that's really the concept of, as much as I appreciate and I believe there's a place for employment, I think there's a greater opportunity and a need in the marketplace for business ownership.
Okay.
Right? And in many different ways, it can look in different ways for somebody, right? I see business ownership as more of ownership first and foremost, right? Truly choosing to become the leader of who you are, right? Like one of the things I've been speaking for years on the whole concept of what I call the 3 master skills of wealth, right? And that really goes back to some of the conversations that we've been having. The number one skill of wealth, in my humble opinion, is that you learn to manage/lead yourself. If you cannot deploy your resources properly, like your attention, your time, your resources, your finances, how can you expect others to follow you? That's skill number one. Skill number two, I think that exponentially will grow you, is actually people management. Once you had a chance to become a leader of your own life, how do you become a servant leader? And my definition of becoming a servant leader is choosing to take this responsibility for the individual that you care the most about. How can you add value to their life?
Mm-hmm.
How can you authentically start leading them to their greatest opportunities? Because I truly believe that's what separates your average leader from a true great leader. Right?
Yes.
One of my other favorite books is From Good to Great, right? And
I
it
haven't
really,
read that one yet.
oh my God, you got to read it. It's one of my favorite books that's literally built not on just theory, but literally data, which I love, right? Because I believe in principles of success, but I want them to be backed up by data. So it's solid. So when I share something, I know that people or my followers, or more importantly, my strategic partners, that we are all on solid ground, right? We're not just believing something that's not real. And that said, one of the things that it touches upon, they've taken some of the greatest 50 companies that were on the stock market and they followed them for 50 years. The interesting thing is, or they've looked at their trajectory for 50 years. And the thing is, they've identified what were the qualities of a good company to what were the qualities of the great company. See, and one of the factors that they identified, a good leader speaks about themselves and their contribution to the business. A great leader speaks about others and how their contribution makes all the difference. To me, that was a very interesting pivot that I saw in my own leadership, right? Where I've always chosen to support others, but having this evidence of like, hey, good sense and good business is good for business was just a great confirmation for me to choose to continue to being a servant leader in my life and my businesses and the impact that I choose to create in the world.
So you've mentioned that a few times now. So let's define servant leader, because everybody probably has their own definition of that. What is servant leadership according to Alexei Musienko?
So for me, as I've said earlier, just a little bit, for me, servant leadership or becoming a leader is truly choosing to take responsibility for yourself, owning the fullness of your life. You might not be at fault for life happening to you.
Yeah.
But you are responsible for responding powerfully.
Yes. So
go ahead.
So yes, that is absolutely step number one for leadership in general. But in the sense of now, how does servant leadership show up in a team setting? What does a servant leader do that makes their leadership different from not servant leadership?
I love that actually question. And there's a couple of things that actually came to mind, almost like a framework as you were speaking, because my brain works in patterns and those elements are really kind of fun and cool. Well, first of all, the first word of servant leadership is leadership, right? So we talked about the fact that you have to be a leader to be a servant leader. The servant part is really from taking the responsibility, not just for yourself, but for others in the way that the other individual needs support and guidance through. And I think the three elements that I think can be really powerful when it comes to servant leadership, number one is casting/holding greater vision of the individual than they have of themselves. I'll give you a perfect example, right? One of the individuals that truly changed the trajectory of my life, his name is Michael Maxwell. When we originally met, Michael was one of the top leaders in one of the companies I was taking a look at partnering with, and he was literally the speaker on the stage. There was about 300 to 400 people in the room, right? And somehow he picked me out of that entire group and said, I want to talk to you. And the funny thing was, right, as he's off stage, like, he's speaking to some people after he was done speaking, and I was about to head out. He's like, no, wait, I want to connect with you. And literally, as he pointing towards me, my confidence and my state of life was at such a low point. I literally turned around to see who was pointing to.
Yeah, he's not
And
pointing to me. Like he must be,
exactly.
yeah, he must be talking to somebody else, right?
Right.
Yeah, and
And I
I've met
said,
Michael, and he's one of those people that you're like, wait, you believe that about me? Really?
exactly. Like, yeah, we got to get him on the show. He's
Yes.
amazing and a man who changed my life. But that being said, right, literally after that conversation, when I'm like, he's like, no, you. I'm like, oh, wait, I guess it's me. I did end up staying after that get together and everybody dispersed. We literally spent another 2 hours of having conversation. He literally learned, I don't know if everything about me, but in a 2 hour conversation, we talked about life, principles, values. He just was there to show up and serve and listen first.
Yeah.
Right. Then he cast the vision of me. I was like, who is that person? How do I meet them? And the truth is, the conversation on internally that was going on for me, I was saying, I don't know what he sees in me, but it's better than what I see in myself in the mirror. Maybe, just maybe, if I borrow his vision of me, maybe my life will get just a little bit better. Boy, did I have no clue what that one decision was going to create for me. Because the truth is, in that moment, I was literally going through multiple things going on at the same time, where my fiance walked away, my businesses were embezzled, and I was dealing with legal trouble, not any fault of my own, but I still had to deal with it. Right. And I literally, after building a 7-figure company, I was depressed and having suicidal ideations.
Oh.
Because I was living a life of luxury. What I lost was the meaning. And so Michael showed up in my life at a perfect time where I could not see myself. He was the first person that put me in a personal development workshop where it literally cost $5,000 to be there. And he just said, hey, show up. Only when I showed up and like halfway through the event, I realized it was $5,000. And at that moment, I did not have the cash because my mindset was really bad and my businesses were basically following my mindset. They were nosediving.
Yeah.
You know, the businesses were still viable, but the profits were, nowhere to be seen, at least not enough to pay for my lifestyle at that moment, where I was just, basically borrowing from my savings to kind of continue through this wilderness as I was choosing to. But anyway, being in that personal development workshop, I literally realized that the person that was in front of the room, they were talking about concepts that everybody, when I looked around, I'm like, they had no clue. And I'm like, oh, this is basic. So, and that was the moment I was like, you know what? I might want to speak. We change another trajectory and then another story. But going back to servant leadership, right? I think first and foremost, we choose to create space of listening. Number 2, we cast vision for the individual that is being able to see their greatest self, not just every mistake that they made.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times our psychology will do just that, right? For us to survive, right, through history, we had to see what was wrong.
Yeah.
And so our brain is designed to see what's wrong, not what's right. And in the moment of weakness, that can be the greatest weapon that you get to use against yourself.
Ooh, some people just had an aha moment about themselves. I felt it. Oh, yes. Because that is the skill for successful entrepreneurs, is the development of how to look at things, how to view things, right? Through which light and which lens do we see things, right? You and I have talked about this many times. Life is happening for me, not to me, right? Oh, man. My brain is wanting to go in like all the directions right now. I should have taken an extra gummy before lion's mane gummy, y'all, not the other kind, before we had this conversation, because I'm feeling pulled in so many different directions right now. But I think where I want to go with this is the idea that Oh, yeah, that's what it was. Okay. The difference between casting a vision for somebody
Mm-hmm.
and wanting it for them, right? More than they want themselves. Because anybody who has spent any time in network marketing leadership eventually hears somebody says to them, you can't want it more for them than they want it for themselves. But when you said cast a vision of somebody, I was like, oh, see, a lot of us are conflating the casting of the vision and the wanting.
So, which is the perfect question for what I was about to share next, right? Talk
Good.
about divine appointment, right? That third principle of thought leadership, I believe, right? Once you create the safe space, once you cast the vision, the next opportunity is really seeing if the individual is needy or deserving.
Mm.
See, here is the difference between, leaders and just somebody that will help people just to help people, right? And here's the truth. I've learned this the hard way. That's how I know the lesson worked. I spent a lot of time with the wrong people. I did too many kisses to the frogs that didn't deserve it.
Oh, yeah. Not enough princesses, huh?
Exactly. Right. And through that journey, through that lesson, one of the things I realized is that there's a difference. It was actually a mentor of mine in direct sales of all places that I was literally on her virtual couch saying, I don't know how to deal with this. I'm doing this, this, and this. I'm literally, as you were saying, bending over backwards. And I feel like I want them to succeed greater than they want to succeed themselves. I want that vision more for them than they want it for themselves.
Right.
And what my mentor said at that time, who was Jennie Johnson, said, I talk about she did a virtual, three-handed slap or one-handed slap. She said, stop helping the needy, start helping the deserving.
Mm.
And as time went by, I'm like, okay, I don't fully know what that means, but at least it's an answer that I can start learning about. And the thing for me that I identified only recently, like clarified beyond the shadow of the doubt. For me personally, the new standard when it comes to the difference between a needy person and a deserving, when you cast the vision, they're willing to at least take the first step and continue moving. Because I truly believe now and moving forward, if you choosing not to show up in your life or your community, why would you expect me to do so?
Mm.
So one of the things I personally do with my new relationships is I create something that I call microcommitments. If I do this, would you do that? And then see if they follow through on that promise. Because one of the things, as I said, I learned from T. Harv Eker is how you do anything is how you do everything. And you teach people how to treat you.
Mm-hmm.
So if people don't choose to honor their word in small things, they will most likely not honor their word in big things at some point. I've learned it the hard way. Please trust me on that one. It literally cost me at minimum over $25,000 of people choosing to say who they were and not showing up the same way.
Yeah. Oh, no, trust me. If y'all go listen to my episode with Alexei, you'll get to hear that story from me too. And I think what could have made a difference in my situation was that micro commitment. Could we have said, well, let's do this little thing first. Let's do this little thing first. Let's do this next bigger thing first, instead of jumping from, hey, we know each other to massive commitment.
Exactly.
Right? Like, oh, that could have saved so much heartache and literally tens of thousands of dollars. Because when I did the math, that was a lesson that cost me easily $50,000, if not $100,000 last year.
Yeah. See, as a result of that experience, one of the things that I teach now when it comes to types of partnerships First and foremost, right? The micro commitment element strategically. One, are we in an engagement partnership? Can we engage with each other, right? Whether we share each other's posts or we're on each other's podcasts, right? Like,
Right.
what is that first step that it's almost like that easy tea, right? It's almost like a setup.
Yeah.
From there, I usually will invite an individual into an affiliation partnership.
Mm.
Hey, I love that we're in each other's network. We're already are choosing to create engagement for one another. What if we share our gifts with one another, right?
Mm.
And as a result, if their business happens to be as a result of those gifts, let me thank you for making the introduction, whether it's a conscious or an unconscious one. Because to me, what I believe is that what's rewarded is repeated. Why not honor the individual for the relationship in your life or for the new business?
Right.
And last but not least, I talk about equity, right? Or ownership, where you get to collaborate together, whether it's doing an event together or maybe even starting a company together. But those are very rare of the people that I choose to do that with, because most things are too expensive for equity. Meaning, if you can hire somebody and pay them money to do something,
Mm-hmm.
this is not the time to give equity to anybody. I'll give you a perfect example out of my own world. My CEO and CTO of my original company, they earn 51% of the profits because they're running the day-to-day operation of the business.
Mm-hmm.
They get to treat the business that I own with my mom as their own because they're doing the work. I get to have the freedom of time where I get to collaborate with other amazing individuals, business owners, and now thought leaders.
Mm. Nice. Well, and I think that helps point out for people the that value, right? Because you, in the process of bringing in that CEO, CTO, had to do some checking, right? That's the micro engagement or micro commitments, an engagement piece. Like, I'm sure you didn't just go, oh, you're applying for the CEO position? Okay, here you go. Like, there's conversations, there's background checks, there's all kinds of stuff that happen there on that way. Now, we could talk forever, but we've already covered quite a bit. And there have been some major shifts here in for the Badass Crew. Like, I literally felt some people have major aha moments. But before we go, you have an amazing gift for the Badass Crew. What are you offering for our Badass Crew in order to help them move forward, grow themselves, grow their business, as long as they step forward and say, me?
Wow. So just to make sure I make this very, very clear, the reason why this invitation even exists is because the amazing value that Jennie have created and continues creating in my life, so that I know that anybody that's connected with her is most likely an amazing individual that is truly has a growth mindset, and they are up to great things in the world, not only just to make an income, but to create an impact. See, one of the things, this is how this original gift got inspired, is that I'm a big student of Alex Hermosi's.
Mm.
And one of the things he talks about all the time is that he says, if you're going to give something away, give away something that people are paying for.
Mm.
So literally, as I've heard this for years from Alex, I always was trying to ask myself, what can I give away that would be valuable, that our people are paying for years?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was on a beach in Mexico, and it hit me. And see, when it's good when you go, wait, what am I going to do? What? I made an executive decision to do the following, to stop playing the game of business and start playing the game of impact. And the way that your audience get to benefit from this is following. I'm choosing to give away or gift away a mastermind because that is the one thing that made all the difference for me. Whether it was the right information from the right source, or the right referral that made all the difference, or the strategic partnerships that truly changed the trajectory of my life. And all I ask is that you come into the community with service and actually choose to do the work. The mastermind itself, if I were to charge for something like this, it would be at minimum $25,000. And I'm choosing to create a test of giving. When you show up for yourself in the mastermind by sharing your intentions of the day, and you continue honor those words, meaning you confirm them, and others are seeing your process as you get to show up for the community by adding value to others in the community, not selling them, but choosing to serve them in ways that you can. I will choose to add value to you. And there's literally over probably $1,000 worth of content, proprietary training that I've literally sold for years in there to unlock. As long as you're willing to do the work, you're willing to show up for the community, and you have a bigger mission and vision. The only way you get to unlock this, because this is not available publicly, you have to mention the person that referred you, Jennie Bellinger. I'll even take Jennie B.
All right. So are they reaching out? How are they reaching out? Do you want an email? Do you want, like, how are they going to let you know, hey, Jennie B sent me to this mastermind thingy?
So you know what? I'll make this deal even sweeter.
Oh.
I'm going to give you the link to one of my best special private trainings where I literally break down the process of creating, growing, and evolving life-altering relationships as an additional gift. As long as they go down that link, they will get to watch the video for free.
Nice.
And if they hit the comment part to share what was their biggest takeaway, aha moment, or maybe even a clarifying question, it's going to ask them to register for the platform. It's going to ask them for their name, their email, phone number, and person that referred them to. That is the golden ticket, literally. Jennie Bellinger again. And so that way they will be added to the community. My assistant will go ahead and approve them. And then they will be part of our experience. And there's maybe even some possibilities that Jennie's going to do some special private trainings around the ultimate badass leadership.
Maybe, just maybe, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. There could be something coming in Alexei's mastermind from me. So yes. So for those of you badass crew, you guys already know where to look for that link so that you can get registered and get access to that special private training on how to build relationships, and also to get access to this $25,000 mastermind with Alexei Musienko. So that's in the show notes. Now, if this just happens to be your very first time ever listening to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Show, and you're like, show notes, how do I get this link? Where do I get it? All you have to do is grab your phone, as long as you're not driving, click on today's episode, scroll under Alexei's picture, and there you will see the link to Alexei's special private training and into the $25,000 mastermind where you can register, drop my name, and let him know that you want in. So click on that today. Do not miss out on this opportunity. I have been participating with Alexei's mastermind on and off, in and out because of, life things. And now I'm like, what am I doing? Get your butt in there, Jennie. Get your butt in there. You know better. This is a $25,000 opportunity. What are you doing, girlfriend? So you might, just maybe, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, see me in there for that mastermind opportunity. So if you want to mastermind with me and Alexei, building 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-figure businesses,
maybe in the future,
get your butt in the mastermind. Why are you waiting? Don't wait. The longer you wait, the longer it takes. So go click on that. We want to see you there. Alexei, thank you so much for sharing your story and sharing your brilliance around servant leadership here with the Badass Crew and with me as well. I so appreciate you.
It's true pleasure and honor to be here on your stage and to get a chance to impact the amazing community and network that you've created. It's a true pleasure and an honor.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate you. And Badass Crew, you know how this goes. Stay tuned because there's another badass episode on its way.
Thanks for listening to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger. Why are you waiting to go to badassdirectsalesmastery.com? Don't make the dom get her whip. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share it with another rock star that you know in direct sales after you subscribe to the podcast so you won't miss any future episodes. You can also check out the show notes for links and any contact information mentioned in today's episode. We'll see you next time.